Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 7 of season 2 of our F1 Manager McLaren career mode. This weekend we're back in the jewel of the Formula 1 crown. It's the Monaco Grand Prix, and if you missed out on Spain, go back, check it out. I don't know whether we should be coming into this weekend full of confidence due to the pace that both cars showed last weekend out in Barcelona, or whether we should be really nervous with how things ended up going last weekend out in Barcelona. That's all I'm going to say before we jump into this one. Oscar Piastri, though, is now finally a 77 overall rated driver. However, I am going to be putting up a poll probably early next week on the community tab here on YouTube as to whether we keep Oscar Piastri or we bring someone else in. So, of course, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do so. Click that bell icon as well, of course, so you don't miss out on that. Constructors-wise, we're currently down in P5 there. You can see 16 points behind Alpine. Haven't really seen a big change of form since last season by most of the teams there. Ferrari's still leading the way. Drivers' Championship, Charles Leclerc, 19 points clear of Max Verstappen after the win last time out. But, of course, this is the one Charlie Boy really wants to win. Lando Norris still best of the rest in P7. Oscar Piastri, 3 points so far against his teammates, 37. It has really not been a good start for the Australian this season. But let's get on with it, though. Monaco Grand Prix, I'm really hoping we've got good pace in the car.
Cars have been racing through Monaco streets since 1929, and this weekend is no exception, as we get to watch the new generation of world-class drivers take over Monte Carlo. This is the Monaco Grand Prix. Monaco is famous for its many narrow twists and corners, from the brake-heavy Le Rascasse to the treacherous Saint Devote. There are no proper straights to speak of, and it's extremely hard to overtake here. It sounds like simple advice, but getting up as high on that starting grid as possible is the best plan of attack. We might still be early in the season, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and relax. Everything is up for grabs, and nothing is certain at this stage. Stay right here, because we're just getting started.
Right, well, it's always a good feeling to be back in Monaco, and unlike last season's race, it looks like it's going to be a nice dry weekend there. So, I mean, overtaking opportunities aren't exactly what I call commonplace, but maybe there's the chance that you can move past some other cars this weekend. But of course, we all know what Monaco's like. It's going to be all about trying to run as much downforce as sensibly possible there to drag the pace out of the car. Just keeping it clean and tidy, though. That is the biggest thing I want to see our drivers doing this weekend. They need to try and keep it clean because, yeah, the last few races have not been great in that regard. Let's get the final tweaks made to the cars and let's get out onto the circuit. I know I've said it before when you come to Monaco, but I do love coming back to this circuit on F1 Manager. You know, often when I'm racing around here, it's very intense. It's all about trying to keep it out of the barriers, but I can not exactly sit back and relax, but I can actually commentate pretty much as normal for a change. Let's just make sure, again, obviously both drivers aren't doing any proper wear and tear to the car and the engine. Want to try and keep those power unit components in good shape throughout a big chunk of the season. But yeah, one of the Alfa Romeos that I'm guessing, Bottas. Yeah, Bottas also out onto the circuit. So we'll see what sort of times we can do, and obviously far more importantly, how the setup's looking. Here we go.
When you can.
Oscar not too happy with the car early on in the session. Luckily we're less than 20 minutes in. But yeah, down in P19 for him. We've still got Bottas stuck behind us, which I think is quite funny. Lando Norris, though, as well, just sitting back for a moment. Hopefully, he's going to be a bit happier. There we go. Lando is, well, as happy as Lando can ever be on F1 Manager. We're going to bring him in, though, at the end of this lap, so he's got all the data he can possibly get. Make some big tweaks to Oscar's car. Still always find it weird how on F1 Manager, sometimes the drivers really don't like having braking stability, especially around a track like Monaco, but it is what it is. Well, less than half an hour to go then from free practice 1, and I mean, it's free practice at Monaco. Unless someone hits the barriers, there's not really too much to talk about, because of course everyone is just trying to gear themselves up. Such a circuit where just building up that confidence slowly and steadily is important. I guess Esteban Ocon, Sebastian Vettel, they're doing very well. They're further up the order. Quite surprised Daniel Ricciardo down in P15. But again, it is only 35 minutes into free practice 1. There isn't a huge amount we can really read into. But yeah, like I said, unless someone bins it, hopefully not one of our cars. I think we've just kind of got to prepare ourselves for qualifying, really. Make the last setup tweaks we need. And just try and hope we can put this thing in the top 10. Oh, there we go.
Give us a balance check. Balance check.
Oscar Piastri now a lot happier. Whoa, really happy with the car, apparently. He won't be able to bring him into the pits this time round. But yeah, I feel like we made some big improvements there with him. Hopefully we'll get the same with Lando. Oh, I tell you what, when you look at that, 2 optimals are great and 2 goods for Oscar Piastri. I don't really think we want to change anything else on that setup then. We'll let him go out on a set of soft compound tyres and try and do a bit of an aggressive run to finish off. Lando Norris as well. Oh, we're smashing it. We're smashing it. The boys are loving the car this weekend. This is what I want to see. Right, I have sent both drivers back out on a set of the soft compound tyres then right towards the end of the session. But yeah, that's probably one of the best free practices I've genuinely ever had on F1 Manager. Both cars really dialed in. As Oscar Piastri, will he improve? Yes, he will. He goes P15. They're still a little way off, but of course we're really not pushing at all.
With FP3 all finished, it's time to move on to qualifying. Drivers will no doubt be constantly pushing to secure a good starting place in tomorrow's race. Of course, all it takes is one momentary lapse of concentration and they can find themselves at the back of tomorrow's grid. There are always risks to be taken, but can they afford not to? There's not much left to say, so let's get into it.
Right, well, immediately jumping out then into Q2 here from the Monaco Principality. Q1 pace did look quite promising. Lando Norris able to run up in P6 there, only behind Kevin Magnussen and quicker than George Russell there. No major surprises. Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen did have to do 2 runs though to make it through there. Both of their first runs were very, very blocked by other cars. But of course, yeah, really round here, it's just about trying to find track space, especially with how weird and wonderful F1 Manager's AI can be. That is my polite way of saying quite broken on occasion there. But Oscar Piastri then out of the final corner, ready to start his first flying lap. Fernando Alonso has set the banker on a 1:10.9. Hopefully we can go quicker than that. We have got an Alpine just up in front of us. We'll try and watch out with Lando Norris in the background as well. But fingers crossed that Alpine is going to jump out of the way. I'm not filled with confidence at the moment as we head down the hill. Come on, please, or just drive quicker. One or the other, please. And yeah, is he getting held up? I don't know yet. Well, let's compare the times. Let's wait and see. I feel like he might be getting held up quite dramatically, but I honestly can't really tell. There's Lando Norris, half-tenth up in Sector 1. There we go. Oscar does finally get by. But yeah, the focus now, I'm sure, will turn to Lando Norris. And Lando then heading through the final few turns. I'm really hoping that Alpine doesn't manage to block both of our cars in a single run, because Lando is getting very, very close. I think that is Esteban Ocon, isn't it? No, it is Daniel Ricciardo, in fact. So rounding out the final corner then, Oscar Piastri, yeah, really not a good representative by him. Down on a 1:12. Lando Norris, though, up over the line. He sets a 1:10. 1:10.6, so quicker than both of those Alphas. That might be him safely through into Q3 on just one run. Well, Oscar Piastri then in the drop zone at the moment. We've really got to hope that no one bins it on this final run, but I've gambled it with Lando Norris. I think we've done enough with him to get him safely through into Q3 there. But Oscar Piastri, this needs to be the lap of your life, my friend. You are at the moment driving for your F1 career through turn 1, nice and tidy, as he heads up the hill. And like I said, yeah, it really is just a case of whether we get any yellow flags or not. Every other car at the moment is on an attacking lap. We've got the Alpha Tauri's and Carlos Sainz are all in the drop zone there alongside Daniel Ricciardo, who of course back in the day used to run these streets. Not anymore for old Danny Rick. But anyway, yeah, so far seems like a neat and tidy lap by Oscar there. Actually just finding a bit of time as well in Sector 1. Still not quite able to manage the time set by Lando Norris there. But Magnussen improves, goes up into P4. That has been very, very quick around this venue all weekend up to this point there. So we have got to be a bit careful. You know, if we get too many cars improving, Lando Norris might be in trouble. Lewis Hamilton just able to go quicker than him as well. Perez will stay in P3, but does find another couple of tenths on the board. Vettel out in Q2. Ocon able to improve down in P10 there. Looks like Gasly has jumped up slightly. Sainz as well. I'm sure we need to wait to see whether he's going to make it through. So one of our cars should make it into Q3. It's just a case of which one. As Oscar Piastri up towards the line there. Lando Norris right on the cusp. And it is still Oscar Piastri that doesn't make it out there. 1,000th of a second quicker than George Russell, so big surprise for him. Alonso, Ocon and Vettel all joining him on the wayside. So because Lando made it out of Q1 and Q2 on the same set of soft compound tyres both times, he's actually been able to drag 3 sets into Q3 here, and we're going to try and use all of them here in this final qualifier session to try and get the lap we need. No traffic as he heads up the hill first time round. We could really try and place him, you know, we could be quicker than Hamilton here. If we can go 5th, be best of the rest behind Red Bull and Ferrari, that would really show that this car is still a downforce circuit specialist. But Lando down in towards the final couple of corners. Lap so far has been very, very tidy. I have 18.5 in the first sector, so Lando Norris is getting quicker and quicker around this Monaco GP there. I'm sure those times won't stay purple, but that's going to be a 10.5. if I'm not mistaken. A very, very impressive first lap by Lando. And even better, he's got 2 more stabs at it. Well, second lap then, pretty much identical come the end of Sector 1. Are we going to see improvements as he heads down through to back? Yes, we are. Lando Norris still in P4 at the moment, quicker than Magnussen and Hamilton, who are probably his main rivals. Carlos Sainz hasn't been able to get a particularly good time in just yet. Marginally up, though, in Sector 2, so it is just about small margins now for Lando Norris. So consistent around this venue, and it would be nice to see a bit more sort of change in lap times on F1 Manager there. But Lando Norris does improve by another 10th or so gives himself even more of a margin of safety to those cars behind. I don't know whether we got enough time for that final run. Well, on raw pace alone, this might be the best qualifying session we'll ever have on F1 Manager so far, of course, in this McLaren RTG. Lando Norris has been flying around this venue, and now he's got one more chance at it to try and find even more. Charles Leclerc, the only driver so far into the 109s this weekend, and he's done it in all 3 qualifying sessions, but Max Verstappen is just 1/10 away there. Perez in at P3 ahead of Lando and Kevin Magnussen. Surely Carlos Sainz as well is another one to watch right towards the end of the runs, as Lando Norris not getting any data there from his first sector, so that's not reassuring then, as we start to see cars coming up towards the start-finish line there. Carlos Sainz does improve, goes 1,000th of a second behind his teammate Charles Leclerc there, so a mega improvement by Carlos Sainz to potentially lock out the front row for Ferrari. Verstappen and Perez both able to improve their times, but not their positions there. Charles Leclerc goes even faster onto a 109.7. Magnussen, he's done. He's in P6, so that's one important rival that we're going to be out here at the end of qualifying. Hamilton up towards the start-finish line, just behind Valtteri Bottas, who stays in P8. Hamilton will stay in P7 then, so not the qualifying position he would have wanted here in Monaco. We are going to be lining up on P5 by the looks of it, unless Gasly, I think, no, he's finished his run anyway. Up towards the line for Lando Norris. Will we improve any more? I think we didn't. We stay in at P5 there, but you know what? Behind the Red Bulls and the Ferraris, a 10th away from Checo Perez, we will take it.
Drivers are strapping themselves in, ready for race day.
Qualifying went well for McLaren, and they're set to start this race feeling quite comfortable. Although we didn't see a standout performance from Alpine during qualifying, everything's still open to them during this race. And the race will be taking place under blue skies. That means the teams should be able to apply their strategies without any added complications.
And you can't get much more excitement than this on race day. It's the Monaco Grand Prix.
One might argue that watching paint dry is often about as exciting as the Monaco Grand Prix. It's all about qualifying here in the Principality, and I tell you what, Lando Norris has qualified incredibly well. Oscar Piastri, we're going to have to try and go a bit out of the box with his strategy there, go on the alternate. But Lando Norris, I mean, sensibly, I just want to try and lock down this P5 for him. Even if he has the most boring Grand Prix in the world, I just want him to finish in P5 there. We'll take a little bit of fuel out of both cars, of course, fuel saving absolutely possible around here. Just park it in front of the cars behind you. But yeah, Oscar, all I can really hope is that, you know, maybe we get some backmarket cars that get in the way later on, and he can overcut some other drivers as well. But let's do this thing, though. It's Monaco Grand Prix time.
As the sun continues to shine, it seems like nothing can dampen the mood of excitement here at the track. And there's Lando Norris. With a top 10 position on the grid, this race could really go either way for them. And it's the other McLaren. They're starting in the bottom half of the grid today, so there's a lot of cars between them and the podium. Everything's been building to this. It's time for one of the most exciting races in the world. This is the Monaco Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go!
Well, look like slightly delayed reactions there by Charles Leclerc as we head down towards turn 1, but are we going to see Lando Norris potentially try and put a move on Checo Perez at the start? Let's go full attack mode. Let's see what we can do with both drivers. May as well go for it on lap 1. Can we try and get Lando around the outside of Checo? Because, of course, any move we make early on could prove vital later on in the day. They see Max Verstappen trying to make something happen as well, but sadly not. Sergio Perez there able just to cover off on this opening lap, so that's a little bit frustrating there. We ran side by side at turn 1 and up the hill there. As no, Oscar's lost the place to Daniel Ricciardo. Looks like we had some grid penalties as well there, so George Russell, his nightmare weekend, no, he was already out in Q2, wasn't he? So don't quite know actually who's taking some grid penalties there, but Oscar Piastri down into 11th place off the start, but Lando Norris then hanging on to the coattails of Sergio Perez on lap 1 this afternoon. Charles Leclerc still leading ahead of Sainz and Verstappen there, so no changes inside the top 10. It looks like it was only Ricciardo that got the jump on Oscar Piastri, but, I mean, Oscar was starting in 11th anyway, so don't quite know what to make of that one on lap 1 there as we head down through the final couple of corners. Of course, fuel saving is going to have to be something we watch out for as well throughout most of the afternoon. Split strategies between softs and mediums by everyone in the top 10 there, but Oscar Piastri is the highest runner on a set of the hard compound tyres. You know, I'm looking at those Zhou Guan Yus, those Yuki Tsunodas, that could potentially get in the way of your Ricciardos and your Gaslys when they have to pit early today. That's the plan we've got with Oscar, and the plan with Lando, yeah, is just trying to stick with Sergio Perez as best as possible early on. Oh, Lando Norris! Suddenly, it's his fastest lap of the day. I had him on attack mode to try and break away from Kevin Magnussen a bit, but now he's going for it on Sergio Perez again on just lap 4 this afternoon. Surely he won't be able to hang it up around the outside through Casino Square again. Sergio Perez just able to hold on, but that is really reassuring then. We have got the pace around this tight, twisty circuit. We can definitely make things happen. It is just going to be about trying to make sure that the car in front of you doesn't have DRS, so good to know as well, of course, for Oscar Piastri, who's already tucked up in a bit of a train there. Hamilton, that Mercedes is just not sticking well around this circuit. But yeah, Perez, Norris and Magnussen, an unlikely trio, but the trio were being dealt with. Max Verstappen has just made a move on Carlos Sainz then in this GP. Don't know if we'll be able to get a replay of that one. But Verstappen now up between the Ferraris early on today. Of course, he and Charles Leclerc both on softs, the number 2s on those teams, both on mediums. But yeah, Max Verstappen has made it through, and that's quite critical for him. I mean, let's be fair, it's the Monaco Grand Prix. It's going to be pretty dull for the most part. I'm going to try and see, though, if we can get a run out of the final corner on Checo Perez once more. With 6/10 back at the moment. It might be that we have to try and save battery for a couple of laps before we can really go for it. But Checo this time around, having to go defensive down at turn 1. That might give us the inside when we get up towards Casino Square there. And can we move through? Yes, we have. On lap 14 of the Monaco Grand Prix there, Lando Norris has made it past Checo Perez then. That is really, really good. And honestly, not what I was expecting to be able to do early on there. Checo, often the street circuit wizard, as he's known in this sport, and he's down to P5. And, of course, immediately, as soon as we get past him, I'm guessing Perez did basically the same move up the hill there. Yeah, got back to the inside through Casino Square, and Lando Norris, once more, has lost the place. So, all that high, just for immediately for it to go straight back to normal. I think battling that Red Bull is going to be, well, staying ahead of that Red Bull is going to be tough. Luckily, though, in all this battling, it has meant that Magnussen has dropped back a little bit behind our cars. Piastri is just sat in a bit of no man's land as well. But yeah, I mean, we're almost at 1/4's distance here in Monaco, and it's pretty much just turned into Monaco. Well, we're also not quite able to save as much fuel as I'd hoped to early on in this race. Only saved, well, about half a kilo so far at 1/3 distance. So yeah, we are going to have to be a bit careful with that, but really that's kind of a late race thing to worry about here. I'm just trying to see when we're going to... Oh, I mean, it's got to be soon that we start seeing, you know, your Verstappens and your Leclercs into the pit lane, Magnussen as well. But yeah, Verstappen actually now back behind Sainz again, so I think those soft compound tyres, I think just honestly Ferrari are quicker than Red Bull here. Charles Leclerc already with an almost 11-second lead at the front. There we go. Charlie boy into the pits then, so he's going to have a 50-lap run to the end of this race on that set of the hard compound tyres. There, Verstappen as well behind him will file in. So I'm guessing for Leclerc, he wants to try and come back out ahead of Checo Perez in this Grand Prix. It looks like he's not going to be able to manage it though. Sergio Perez up now into P3. Are we actually going to get the jump on him as well? Yes, Lando Norris ahead of Charles Leclerc as well there, so that's really good to see for Lando. I mean, Max Verstappen, hopefully he's going to come out of some traffic as well. You know, that could work out nicely for us. Yep, behind Bottas. And Magnussen as well, of course, is another one there, as Oscar Piastri should now be up into the top 10, albeit only for a short while in this race. But even if we can use him, obviously, later on in the afternoon, we just got to try and hope that other cars get held up. There we go. Sainz and Hamilton both into the pit lane as well then, so they've both come back out in a set of hard compound tyres. So I think it's time now that we bring Lando Norris in then at the end of this lap. Will we see Oscar Piastri make some more gains as well? Yep, should be ahead of Hamilton and Bottas very briefly, so that could be good later on in the day. 3rd and 6th at the moment in the Monaco Grand Prix. I know pit stops are absolutely playing havoc with, of course, trying to work out the actual positioning, but this is good. Here we go, rounding through the final couple of corners. Sergio Perez into the pit lane, and Lando Norris is going to join him then, so identical strategies between the Red Bull team and our own. Then nice, of course, that we're able to get some good valuable data, and we'll even hold up Checo just a little bit in pit lane there as fresh hard tyres going onto the car. That should be fairly plain sailing right towards the end. I think even better than that, Lando is going to be out ahead of Oscar as well, so we don't have to do any of the tricky swapping back of positions there. One of the Williams is going to get in the way, but yeah, we're still hanging close to Perez here. We've got a nice gap to Magnussen behind now of about 6-7 seconds. So I guess we've just kind of now got to start saving the fuel. More than 40 laps to go here. But like I said, unless we get a safety car or something crazy, we're just kind of settling in. That's why Lando saves some fuel. We've got to try and use Oscar Piastri to our advantage behind there. You can see he's acting as a rear gunner ahead of Lewis Hamilton, Magnussen, and that whole cohort. So yeah, working out quite nicely for Lando. Of course, it could mean if he needed to, he could stop again later on in the day. But I mean, yeah, really, we've got to try and keep Oscar out till probably about lap 50. And just see if we get a safety car. That's kind of the only thing I can think of. Oh, there we go. Hamilton has just snuck by as we start lap 49 of the GP. So we are going to box Oscar in then onto a set of the medium tyres. Don't think softs are going to go the distance here. But yeah, now we're going to start leaking positions like a sieve. I think we've just got to get on with it and dive into the pit lane then. So Hamilton 31 seconds back from Lando. Lando Norris can afford to lose a second a lap between now and the end of the GP. And Oscar then into the pits, so he's probably going to re-emerge. I mean, he's going to be way down the order, isn't he? He's going to be like P16, but I think we kind of had to throw him under the bus a little bit once again. He hasn't had the pace all weekend to match Lando there. You know, if he made it into Q3, maybe we could have done something a bit more with it, but yeah, heading down the pit lane. Gasly, Vettel even, Ricciardo, Oscar Piastri, Alonso. Surely we're not going to be... No, the Williams and the Aston Martin's like a lap down, aren't they? So P16 for Oscar Piastri. So we are best of the midfield and worst of the midfield. And he's even got a lap down as well. Oh, okay. We've seen a few other cars into the pit lane then. So Oscar will be back up into P13 of the GP. Are we going to see any other cars into the pits? No, I don't think so. So yeah, that's okay then. We're not as bad as I'd originally thought there. Nice to see that we're still ahead of Sebastian Vettel, Ocon and Yuki. You know, probably three of the weaker of the midfield drivers in F1 Manager. We've still got softer tyres than everyone in front of us, but it's whether we're really going to be able to make an impact with them. Oh, someone's binned it. Who's binned it in this Grand Prix? Is it a back marker? We've got yellow flags. Can't see anyone going slowly. Oh, Max Verstappen! What's he done? Turn 1 for the Dutchman. Has he gone off at Saint-Devote? Yes, he must have done. It's the wall. Surely he's not been able to get away with that. How is he still going? Don't know how Max Verstappen's managed. Oh, he's limping around though. He's not in good shape. So we might be able to get P4 then. I mean, what is this? Max Verstappen is causing an absolute train at the moment. He's got Hamilton, who's, what, a lap down... George Russell even, who's a lap down behind him. And Verstappen is just crawling around. Surely he's got to get off the road. He's creating a roadblock here with less than 20 to go. I guess it brings Oscar Piastri a bit closer to some of the cars he was battling as well. But get out of the way, Max. You're clearly in a very, very damaged car. And it's things like Hamilton as well, who's only 30 seconds back. He's going to close up massively there, as Perez will make it through. Lando needs to get on with it as well and try and get round. As what's going on through the Monaco tunnel? We've got both of our cars now trying to make places. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are now having a tea party.
This is awesome.
Oscar Piastri's into P12. I've got no idea what is happening here. Both our cars side by side. Blue flags are causing absolute havoc in this GP there, as finally Verstappen gets out of the way. Oscar Piastri will make it through. He's now so far back behind those cars, but look at this, they're just stuck behind him. This is just ridiculous here in Monaco, and I mean, for a pretty boring Grand Prix so far, this has spiced things up a little bit. Lando Norris into P4 then, Oscar Piastri still in P12, but now, yeah, he's way back behind Ricciardo and George Russell. And now, yeah, just over 10 laps to go. Team's still slightly worried about the fuel, but yeah, we basically are back to where we need to be. Yeah, but they're just kind of pushing each other along. But the fact Lando Norris is a lap up on Oscar Piastri goes to show, you know, how badly screwed Oscar was in a couple of scenarios. But if we can get up to Ricciardo still, could we try and get Oscar back into the points by playing the blue flags? Right, Daniel Ricciardo even has let Lando Norris by, so now is the opportunity we need with Oscar Piastri then. We need to hope that Ricciardo doesn't stay within the DRS range of Lando, but we need Oscar Piastri to try and use the overtake mode to find a way around his fellow Australian. This is going to be strategic right towards the end here in the Principality. Ricciardo probably will still get DRS off Lando Norris by the looks of it, but obviously he won't be able to do anything. So when we get back to the start-finish straight, we've got to go for it. Attack mode with Oscar Piastri then. He knows the drill. He knows we need to try and get past Ricciardo. It won't put him in the points just yet, but it'll bring him even closer there, as Ricciardo will have the DRS off of Lando Norris. But here goes Oscar Piastri up the inside, back down towards turn 1 there, and a fantastic little move made by our young Australian. He's now back into P11 then of the Grand Prix. As remember, George Russell won't have the DRS off the cars in front of him, so Lando have got to try and deploy as well. Let's just bring him back down again so we can settle in and prepare for yet another move. Here we go, round 2 with Oscar Piastri. Come on, prove yourself as a bit of a hero late on in the day, Oscar. Try and make the impact to get yourself back into the points then. George Russell is going to try and defend the inside out of the final corner. Mercedes versus Mercedes power. Oscar Piastri, though, round the outside at turn 1. He has got those softer compound tyres, remember, as we charge back up the hill, and he's made it through. Oscar Piastri back into the points here in Monaco. That is absolutely what we wanted to see. Let's try and make sure that we can open up a bit of a gap to George Russell as well. But using Lando Norris to our advantage has worked out beautifully. Right, Charles Leclerc then onto the final lap of the Monaco Grand Prix. We've still got Oscar and Lando nose to tail here late on. Of course, still that 1 lap difference between them, but so happy. You know, I feel like I've been struggling with the strategies on F1 Manager in recent times, but this one has finally felt like we've had a bit more of a weekend. You know, Oscar Piastri still lacking the pace ultimately, but Lando Norris, best of the rest, able to beat out a Merc and a Red Bull there. Mercedes have had a bit of a mare, so happy that we're able to take some points out of them as well, and we should be a whole lot closer to Alpine once more with this result. Don't know if we could try and go for fastest lap though. I think, yeah, Ocon has probably got that one on lockdown here, unless Charles Leclerc can do anything on this final lap. He has won the Monaco Grand Prix before on F1 Manager, but we're still waiting on Charles Leclerc to finally win this thing in real life. It will happen. Maybe it could be in just a few weeks' time there. But Charles Leclerc rounding through the final few corners here at the Monaco Grand Prix. He grew up watching cars race around these streets. He went to school in the building just on the outside here of La Rascasse, rounding the final corner of Anthony Nogues. Charles Leclerc, it's the one they all want to win, but it means just that little bit more to him and Ferrari. Hit up towards the line. Charles Leclerc is a Monaco Grand Prix winner once more inside F1 Manager. Carlos Sainz is going to come through to complete a Ferrari 1-2, and amazed every single car is going to make it to the end of this race, and the only one that made a significant mistake was Max Verstappen. Lando Norris should be coming through for P3. Luckily as well, of course, even if Oscar has a nightmare, he can only finish P13 by the looks of it once again there. And Norris has locked P4 in as well, so absolute scenes late on in the afternoon. Ferrari, they needed this bit of a resurgence of form. Of course, Charles did take the win last weekend out in Barcelona, but Red Bull had come back so strong after the nightmare of the opening couple of races. Alex Albon, very badly trying to get out of the way on this final lap as well. I think he's, what, 2 or 3 laps down. No, it's not Alex Albon, is it? I think it is. Is it Stroll? No, it is Mick Schumacher there in P19. But Lando Norris, it's finally another big haul of points since the opening race all the way back in Bahrain. That feels like a long time ago, but a good reward. And Oscar Piastri will follow him home in P10. They're double points for the first time since Bahrain.
Lando Norris can be proud. What a fantastic performance from him. McLaren have shown some serious chops here. A good result for the team from Surrey.
You're completely right, and what a day for all the fans of the team as well.
The end this weekend in 5th place in the constructor standings.
Next time, the teams will be racing through the streets of another city. Join us in Baku on the shores of the Caspian Sea for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
Well, there we are then. As always, Monaco, not exactly the most exciting race in the world, but we did have a very, very good run at it there. Charles Leclerc taking the win ahead of Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez, with Lando from 5th on the grid to P4, best of the rest, absolutely, and by quite a margin as well. Hamilton ahead of Verstappen, Bottas ahead of Magnussen, Gasly and Oscar Piastri rounding out the top 10 there. But yeah, Lance Stroll 3 laps down come the checkered flag. Means Drivers' Championship-wise, 2 points now back behind George Russell once again. Lando can definitely fight with those Mercs if we get some consistent results in. Oscar as well, he doesn't actually gain any places thanks to Kevin Magnussen scoring some big points as well. So he's actually down to P15, but 4 points on the board is better than 3. And constructors-wise, Ferrari open up that gap as well. 3 points back behind Alpine now as well. We can definitely get back past them over the coming weeks. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will be back very, very soon when Formula 1 heads to Baku. You guys do not want to miss it. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.